hearing Spanish camps in Costa Rica, Guatemala, and Peru, these are the people to ask. Okay. Okay. It's 1:04. As I said, I'm a stickler for these type of things, so we will get going. Ken, Valley, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. This is our first Global Thought session, and our Global Thought session is usually just an online conversation with various people with different international perspectives and experiences. So you're going to kick us off this year. Welcome and thank you very much.
No, Tom, we both Valley and I really appreciate the invitation, and we'll try to put forth as much information as you folks want us to put forth today.
No, fantastic. So let's get you. We're going to get you going with a quick question. What is Máximo Nivel?
Sure. Well, the first thing is to always make sure we pronounce it correctly. So sometimes it's a little tough. It's not Máximo Nivel, right? It's Máximo Nivel, and that means the literal translation from Spanish would be maximum level. We've been around for 20 years, and what we do is we offer study abroad and educational travel experiences in Latin America. We're also a very successful English as a second language institute here in Latin America. And we own and operate our own institutes and campuses in San Jose, Costa Rica, Manuel Antonio, Costa Rica, Antigua, Guatemala, and also in Cusco, Peru. Right. So we've been running our programs here in Latin America since 2003. And we do a lot with service learning. We do a lot with internships, volunteer abroad, of course, Spanish language. And then we also do a lot with university partners, including with agency and study abroad partners like yourself, Tom. Yeah, I'll go into more detail as we move forward, but that's a quick intro, right? Yeah, and just as we sit here today, so that everybody understands, I'm actually at our institute here right now in Antigua, Guatemala. I'm here for a few months working with our team, and Valley is sitting there at our centralized admissions office, which is based in San Jose, Costa Rica, although Valley is a proud Peruvian.
Yes, I am. It's very nice to meet you. I am the team lead of the Agents and Partners channel here in the admissions department. So I work directly with Tom. I've been with Máximo Nivel for a couple of years now. And yes, I am a proud Peruvian living in Costa Rica now.
Yeah. But Valley, in fact, you yourself are a study abroad expert because you studied abroad in the US for 3 years, 4 years?
Yes, I lived in the US for 3 years. I went to university there. I lived 2 years in Florida, 1 year in Texas. Then I moved back to Peru. And then that's when I got the job with Máximo Nivel and ended up here in beautiful Costa Rica.
Great. Well, we all know each other now. Dave, Joanna, Andre, could you just introduce yourselves briefly? You know, where do you work at? And then we'll get the ball rolling.
Sure. I work in Charlotte, North Carolina, at Queen's University of Charlotte. And I've been here for only a couple months now, but previously I worked at Central Piedmont, which is a community college also in Charlotte.
Good morning, Andre Stevenson. I'm with Elizabeth City State University in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. Joanna, I know exactly where you are. I spent 14 years in the Queen City, so I know the CPCC and Queens very well. And I was actually in San Jose a few weeks ago, visiting the great folks at the Máximo Nivel, and I am extremely impressed by the work, and we look forward to having students study there very soon.
Yeah, Andre, I think our Chief Operating Officer Hector showed you around, or was it Luisa?
It was both, actually.
Yeah, good. Yeah. They told me you were there. Excellent.
Good to see you again, Andre.
Good to see you as well.
Okay, I guess we'll get the ball rolling. So Ken or Valley, the ball's in your court. How would you like to begin?
We haven't heard from Dave.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. Sorry about that. Dave, go ahead. Sorry about that.
That's okay, man. My voice is struggling a little bit today. Well, I'm Yeah, I'm Dave. I'm at the University of North Texas. We're in the North Dallas area. I've been on the job a short time, like you, Joanna, for about a month. Prior to that, I was in Taiwan working as a college admissions advisor for many, many years, and teaching before that. And as an undergrad, I know Antigua well because that's where I did my Spanish learning.
Oh, great.
So,
yeah, that's great. Good.
Yep,
Yeah.
and been through Costa Rica too. I signed up for this because I'm new on the job, but my territory is Latin America, and a lot of our offerings in Latin America seem a little thin on the ground to me, and I'd like to expand the number of students who go down there.
Yeah, and this is Tom knows as well, and Andre, you've seen the institute we have there in San Jose. Dave, that's actually one of the I think one of the most important things to understand about Maximo Nivel. We're not sort of one of these tiny little schools, or where we're just doing language or something like that. Really, we reinvest just about everything we do into our facilities. And so these tend to be rather large buildings, lots of classrooms, big common areas for the students, on-site snack bars, on-site travel partners. So really, from an infrastructure standpoint, this is really something we've set out from the very beginning to do. And that's this idea of providing a home base for the students, for faculty members that might be going along with the students, this kind of thing, right? So you won't find it to be too thin. All in, we're about 172 team members, direct employees, all here between the three countries. About 172 folks, all ready to teach and support students. Yeah. So Valley, you want to jump into the presentation here? Let me just jump in. I've got a small presentation to share, and I will get this going. Great. So everybody can see that. Valley, you'll coach me along if for some reason something malfunctions on my side and you're not seeing it any longer.
Of course, but we can see the presentation now.
That's great. I appreciate it. So this is just on behalf of Abradi and Maximo Nivel. Tom and I have known each other for a number of years. In fact, Tom and I grew up in the same area, right? Tom, we both grew up in the Finger Lakes region of New York State. Yeah. And so just a bit about us. We do a lot with study abroad and educational travel. This is where we really focus. And as I mentioned earlier, and a very important component of our model is that we are also a rather successful ESL institute here in our three countries. And I'll talk about that as I go along in the presentation. So just a little bit about us. Founded in 2003, Cusco, Peru is in fact kind of the mothership, whereas people like Valley and I are based in San Jose, Costa Rica. Everything began in Cusco. This is because my wife Giovanna and I founded the organization together 20 years ago now. And then we have a partner, an equity owner of the organization. His name's Hector Navarro, and he's originally from Spain. And whereas I'm from the US, I left the US back in 1998. And I've been living and working and making life here in Latin America since 2002. So we're all based down here. We're not really based in the US. Everything is essentially run and administered from Latin America. As I mentioned, we're about 172 team members across the three countries, and we work very carefully to have a very particular mix of local team members and international team members. And the balance that we find works really well is about 2/3 local team members and about 1/3 international team members. And our international team members come from all over, not just the US, but Canada, UK. We have a whole cohort of South Africans that work with us here. And then, of course, we've got Dutch and German folks that join the team. And it's a really interesting mix. Sort of to the idea of this mix, from a student mix standpoint, across the three countries, organizationally, we work with about 5,000 international students per year. That's across the 3 countries. But then we have 3,200 local students doing ESL and a couple of other programs we offer for Costa Ricans, Guatemalans, and Peruvians. This is a really important part of our model, because when you send a student off, very often they're landing at an international campus or institute, but very often that cohort that you've sent or that your student is joining sort of lives in a bit of a bubble. Whereas a big part of what we do is we constantly try to push these 2 groups of students, local and international, together, which creates a really interesting rhythm and chemistry inside the Institute. In terms of our goals, what we set out to do as an organization, the first things first, and that's to deliver safe, affordable, high-quality study abroad programs. We work very hard at that. Typically, if you compare Abradia and Máximo Nivel programs, you'll see that we're somewhere around 25 to 40% less expensive than some of the biggest providers out there. If you're working with a CIEE or somebody like that, Kappa or other large providers out there, you'll find that we tend to be a lot less expensive. We do a lot around this idea of providing an organized, structured home base for students to live and learn. It's a place they can go. It's a place they can hang out. We're open 7 days a week. So even on a Saturday or a Sunday, a student can roll in, have a conversation, have a problem taken care of, connect with family back home very, very easily. When Giovanna and I began the organization, what we really wanted as part of what we do is this idea of improving impact in the communities where we work. And so this just comes from something I was raised as I was working my way up in corporate and in academia life. And one of my very first mentors told me, when you do well in a community, Ken, you should be giving back to that community. And beyond just what we do in terms of service learning or volunteering, just as an example, one of our policies as an organization is in each country, 2% of our ESL enrollment must be scholarships to local students who would otherwise not be able to afford to study English with us, just as one manifestation of how we try to show this goal. And then at the end of the day, really, what we set out to do is just to inspire students, right? We want to help everybody be super open-minded, really, really ready to listen and to partake in the conversation, to travel, to learn, and this is really what we're passionate about, right? Just in terms of our core great experiences abroad, the idea that this is immersive, that it's a true intercultural exchange. Again, we're not taking a cohort of students and plunking them inside of a housing bubble or classes where it's only them. They are constantly being mixed in with international students, and like I said, that's a big part of our model. We have a 24/7 client service culture. The organization, the institutes, the campuses, open 7 days a week. We close on Christmas Day and New Year's Day, and all other days we're open. And the whole idea is to make sure that international students far from home have a home base. And from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., every student has a card and a number for an emergency contact, what we call our urgent services manager. And that person is employed to be up all night, to take phone calls, to answer emails, and if we have to go out and look for you, right? And then again, as I mentioned, we put a lot of our reinvestment goes into our home-based facilities, into the campuses themselves, so that they're nice places. These are large and comfortable and open. We're experts at the in-country logistics. People like Valley and me, we're all based locally. We don't really have people based in the United States, we're up there and we can visit partners, but really we're all based here where we actually execute the programs. Even as the president, my office is right there in San Jose. I'm about 3 meters from Valley, and I'm about 10 meters from the San Jose Institute, right next door. Another core competency is our partnering. So when we partner with somebody like Tom, and Tom's partnering directly with you folks, this is something that we're very comfortable with, that we're very experienced with. It's always our job to make the university look great, to make somebody like a Broadia look great. And when things go wrong, or when things don't go as well as we all plan them to, that's us taking the brunt of that. We get feedback from everybody, and we're never here to sort of point fingers back at the partner. As I said, we're open 7 days a week. So if Tom or Dave or somebody, Andre, if somebody at your university needs to talk to somebody at Máximo Nivel, we've got people ready to talk to you even on a Sunday afternoon, right? And then in terms of what we do academically, we really do bring not just some accreditations, but a devotion to some academic rigor. We have a chief academic director. Her name is Claudia Benke. She's been with us since 2012. And in each country, we have an academic director that ensures not just the client service or the student service aspect, but we're ensuring that that the academic component of the program really is there, and it's held to a certain to an appropriate level, right? And we can talk about our university relationships, our ability to help with academic credit. I can talk about that as we move on. Tom, should I pause here? Any questions, or do you want me to kind of go through everything and then take questions at the end?
No, I think just go through everything and then we'll do the question and answer session at the end.
That's great. That's great. So this is just a graphic in terms of where our institutes actually sit. 2 here in Costa Rica, 1 in the capital city of San Jose, the other out on the beautiful Pacific coast in a small town called Manuel Antonio, which is situated right next to the best national park that Costa Rica has. And then, of course, where I'm sitting today is in Antigua, Guatemala, and then, of course, Cusco, Peru. We do have an administrative office in Miami, but we don't run programs. We don't really have operations. That's more to receive mail, answer a phone call if we have to, that kind of thing. This gives you a quick overview, this next graphic, with respect to the institutes themselves. And I'll talk just briefly about this. So if we start alphabetically, and we start with Antigua, Guatemala, we established the campus here in 2009. We can hold up to 300 students at any particular time, 22 classrooms. We have an academic staff of about 20 people and a support team of about 20 people, right? If we then go alphabetically down to the lower right-hand corner, Cusco, Peru, this is where everything started. We established the campus in 2003. Here again, we have space for about 300 students at any given time, 25 classrooms, 38 academic staff, and a support team of around 22. If we then go to Manuel Antonio, which is our smallest institute, this is out on the Pacific coast, and technically established even before Máximo Nivel began. So Máximo Nivel was founded in 2003. But in fact, we acquired one of our competitors here there in Costa Rica. And our competitor actually began the institute in Manuel Antonio in 2001. And they began their San Jose Institute back in 1994. This is why we asterisk these 2 founding dates, right? And then if we swing over to San Jose, Costa Rica, here again, a campus capacity of more than 300, around 15 classrooms, an academic staff of 19, and a support team of about 26 there, right? Just in terms of accreditation, we're accredited in Peru, we're accredited in Guatemala. That may beg the question, well, where's the accreditation from Costa Rica? just to be transparent, the Costa Rica Ministry of Education doesn't get involved with private institutes like ours. So there is no ability to actually have the accreditation directly from the Ministry of Education in Costa Rica. We have a school of record agreement with St. Cloud State University. This is a multi-year agreement, and they actually will transcript. They'll provide the transfer academic credit from their registrar for service learning, internships, and Spanish language classes that we offer in all 3 countries. We're somewhat active in NAFSA. You'll always find us at least the annual, and sometimes at some of the regionals. And the Berlingslobob is something that we're accredited with in Germany and so on. And we're somewhat active with the Association of Language Travel Organizations. This means that we, in terms of the accreditation, much like yourselves, we would go through a re-accreditation process depending on the approval, anywhere from every 3 to 5 years. This gives you an idea of the program types Máximo Nivel offers. So if we start at the top, we just kind of break this down into service learning, international internships, Spanish immersion, university courses that in fact we've developed either on our own or in conjunction with some of our university partners. That would be courses, for example, entrepreneurship in Latin America, public health in Latin America, sustainability. These are some of the courses we've developed and delivered over the years. We do a lot with our TESOL or our TEFL certification. And then we also offer some adventure and culture programs. Very often when we're working with a university partner, we'll be doing not just the academic programs, but typically some travel related things as well. And then most of our academic programs will have guided reflection workshops there in country. And we can either help the university partner do that based on our own reflection curriculum, or that's something that the university chooses to offer. But this breaks it down in terms of kind of, are the programs experiential? Are they language-based? Are they more content-based, etc.? Right. I want to sort of go down a little bit here. I want to dive a little deeper for just a moment, because very often a conversation, a presentation like this, it begs the question: service learning, international internships, are these different? How are they the same, etc.? For us, the service learning programs are very distinct from the international internships. Typically, the service learning, it would be much shorter term than an international internship. The service learning would also be maybe 3 to 4 hours a day, whereas an internship is typically more on the professional level, 6 to 8 hours a day. The project type is very important. So when students are coming down and taking part in service learning, or we're developing a service learning program for a university partner, these are all around community service. These are going to be community-based projects, whereas clearly for an internship, these are going to be job-specific. The way we kind of help the students, the participants understand this is, in the service learning programs, it's all about the project site. You're there for the project. On the internship side, it's all about the student. It's about the student's experience and what they're trying to get from this experience, right? In terms of Spanish classes, we can include language components in the service learning programs, though they're not automatically included. Whereas on an internship program, the language component, the Spanish language immersion classes are included. There are workshops. The workshops on service learning are typically optional. Again, that would really be where the university partner wanted it. But on the international internship programs, the workshops are required. And that's 10 hours of reflection workshops, just to help those students reflect on and think about the process, the experience they're coming through, right? And then with respect to deliverables, if there's a report, a presentation, some sort of summary at the end, if it's in the service learning realm, typically that's going to be university driven. On the internship side, we require a deliverable that's either a presentation or a paper at the end of the program. In terms of program structure, this just gives you, as university partners, an idea of what we can deliver. We can deliver across different time frames. We're very experienced at all of them. And the first one would just be short-term programs, kind of 1 to 4 weeks. We've got a couple of university partners that bring us semester-long programs. Those are typically around 14 weeks. We can run a quarter-based. We can run those summer programs, even a mini term during January. Very easy for us to deliver. And if you have students or even folks from your own families who are interested in coming down and doing a whole gap year, we do these from, we even do smaller gap years, I think now, Valley, right? We've got some students that come down for a 12-week gap year. Although we have to question why we're calling it a year at that point, but still, it's part of the program we do.
Ken, Joanna asked a question. She asks, does the student need to have a certain level of Spanish before starting the internship?
I appreciate that question. So some of our internships, yes. So for example, if you take education or micro business, you are required to have an intermediate on the CEFR scale, on the European framework. We would call that a B2 or better. But for example, if you want to get involved in, sorry, my apologies, not education, special education and micro business require the intermediate. Whereas, for example, education and tourism and hospitality don't require an English component. From there, we get into a lot of bespoke or custom designed internships. And then it's just really what the student wants to do. So for example, if a student wants to come down and do a human rights law internship, they're going to need intermediate Spanish or better. If they want to come down and they want to do something around photojournalism, they won't need Spanish. Just as an example, in kind of 2 areas we've done some customized development with internships. Just talking about student services, what your students can expect. There's always airport pickup. That's included in every program. Our folks are there 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So even if they're delayed in Miami or Houston coming in, we'll be there at 3 a.m. on a Sunday. Not a problem. That's what we're there for. Airport pickup at an extra charge can always be included in the program. There's an on-site client service manager. We have a team of field managers, and this is another component really important to what we do. So we don't just kind of toss your students out into the field and say, good luck, let us know if everything goes well at your internship or at your service learning project. We actually have field managers whose job is to be in the field. Each field manager has a caseload of service learning projects, of internship projects, and accommodations that they manage. And so they go door to door, project to project, and they're managing those relationships, and they're helping integrate your students into their project sites, into their internships to make sure that goes smoothly. We always have an on-site travel desk. So we have a third-party partner that actually maintains an office inside our institutes. So in terms of arranging special transport, or if a student wants to do some independent travel, they have a pre-approved partner that we know are running safe vans and cars. They're well insured, and they know how to run these programs. They're not just kind of on the street buying a tour, buying a zip line tour from whatever operator might be out there, right? As I mentioned, 7 days a week, 363 days, a very important part of what we do. On site here, Andre, you would have seen it, I think. We always have Wi-Fi throughout the entire institute for everybody. That's, of course, free. And there's a computer lounge that everybody can can have access to. There's a monthly activity calendar. So things like salsa dance lessons, tandem conversation program, traditional cooking classes. These are all included. They're part of what we offer on an ongoing basis. And these are some of the opportunities where we bring the international students together with the local students, right? There's also a Spanish tutoring table. So anybody on any program, whether they're actually studying Spanish or not, can take advantage of free tutoring. And that's always a bilingual teacher that's available 8 hours a day. The tandem conversation program, I mentioned that a moment ago. This is where we take our local ESL learners and we team them up with one of our international students. This is completely free. And then the two people get together for a cup of coffee, maybe a glass of wine at the end of the day or in the afternoon. And the local student helps the international student learn Spanish, and the international student helps the local student learn English. Right? It's a really great program. I'm still friends with my original tandem conversation partner from 2002. Right, and then there's always free coffee and tea, and this is really important to us. It's part of our model. You can roll in on a Saturday at 4 p.m. and there's always coffee, there's always tea, the snack bar's right there, Wi-Fi is working, and somebody's at the reception desk to receive you, and they're going to be multilingual and they can solve any problem you have. That's a really important part of what we try to bring. I don't want to go into this just for the sake of time, but all of you, I'm sure, have heard of Maslow's hierarchy. If we have time, Tom, I'm happy to back up and go into this. But we kind of view the way we approach student service in 3 levels. And essentially that begins by ensuring a safe program. And when we're really doing our job, when my team is doing it perfectly, we're there not just to facilitate, but we're there and we really work to try to inspire international students to come live, study, travel, and work internationally. Just because people like Valley and I and the rest of our team have found this to be so important in our own lives, we love to pass this on. Let's talk about safety and risk management. So I just said, you know, we start with delivering that safe pickup. Clearly, the airport pickup is part of making sure that everybody's safe upon arrival. For example, in places like Guatemala City, if you look at what the U.S. State Department says, they don't rank Guatemala very highly. But that's really because of Guatemala City. And in our case, you spend about 7 minutes in the city, and the rest of it's all outside in beautiful Antigua, Guatemala. Every single student who comes through our programs, they are required to go through a safety and a program orientation that's approximately 90 minutes long. We talk a lot about safety and how to stay safe during that orientation. Everybody gets a walking tour of the neighborhood, so they're integrated, they're orientated. Where's the institute? Where's that safety phone? Where's the Plaza de Armas or the Plaza Central? Where can I get money? Where's the police office? Right? And so this is something we do for everybody. Our host families and our other accommodations are continuously vetted, continuously monitored, and we get feedback, not just on our programs, but on all of our accommodations every single week. Any outgoing student has an actual physical card that they're asked to rate us on these things, including accommodations. We have a full-time medical specialist on staff in each country. This is because we do a lot on the service learning side with respect to medicine and healthcare. So we have a specialist literally on staff in each country, and they're there. So for example, if there was an accident or if a student were feeling ill, our medical specialist is the first responder. They're right there. And then of course we have multiple doctor relationships and relationships with the local clinics. We've talked a lot about being open 7 days a week. We've talked a lot about being open 24/7 and actually having that critical 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. time frame covered by our urgent services manager. All of our teams are certified in CPR. There is a Máximo Nivel emergency plan, and that covers everything from evacuation and things like volcanic eruptions and earthquakes to how we manage sexual assault. And we're always happy to provide that to a university partner. And if all else fails, we carry a $3 million liability policy, and we're always happy to provide the certificate of that policy to any partner that needs it. This gives you an idea. Again, this relates to both program quality and safety. This gives you an idea of how a campus or an institute is actually structured. So Andre, you came into San Jose, Costa Rica. At the very top there in Costa Rica, we have Maria Luisa Rivas. We call her Luisa, and she is our country manager. She's originally actually from Nicaragua. And then she runs the whole team. She's responsible for what goes on there. And you can see here on the right, the international programs team consists of that international director. That's who a lot of your students would be interfacing with on a daily basis. They have a team of field managers, client service manager, the medical specialist I talked about, the urgent services manager I talked about, right? Over here, the left hand, right? So if the international programs director is the right hand to the country manager, the national programs director is the left hand to the country manager, and they're working typically with the Ministry of Education. They're running all of the ESL programs, translation services, and things like that we offer locally. And then the support services here in the middle. Our academic director is probably the busiest person in the Institute. They certainly manage the largest team. Typically, they would have an assistant director. They would have a team of Spanish teachers, a team of English teachers, and then depending on the time of year and what we're doing, we would very often have kind of 1 to 3 university professors on site with us. And then, of course, we have logistics, purchasing, security, maintenance, running the snack bar, our accounting director, and our TEFL trainer. This is more about training ESL teachers. They are director level, and they run a very important program. And so they've been elevated in the organization over the years to director level, and they actually report straight into the country manager. This just gives you an idea. And in each country, this would be duplicated. This would be duplicated. And then just with respect to working with us, to partnering with Abradia and Máximo Nivel, this just gives you an idea in terms of, when you're working with us, there's a centralized pre-arrival support to your faculty, to all of you, to your students. That would come from Tom, that would come from Valley, that would come from Valley's supervisor, our director of admissions. I'll talk about her next. Centralized budgeting and invoicing. So if you're sending a group to Costa Rica and a couple of students down to Peru, you're always going to be working with Tom. You're always going to be working with Valley, no matter which destination you're going to. I think that just makes it easier for the university partner. Program structure, policies and procedures, agreeing on student rules, contracts, budgeting. All of this is also centralized, and Tom and Valley and Natalia and myself, we're all there to make sure this happens. And then we can also help universities with promotional support. So for example, one of us, be that from Tom's office or from our office, we can show up on campus to help with a study abroad fair. We can come in for Parents Weekend and do a presentation if you want to do something, or if you want to get students excited, you want to do some internal marketing at the university to drive enrollment into your study abroad programs. We can support with visits, presentations like this one, photos, videos that you can use, and then of course, as I mentioned, any sort of customized courses or programs, we can do that with you. And then just in terms of who you'd actually be working with, of course, there's Tom there, president of Abradia. There's Valley, our team leader, or one of our team leaders in admissions. And then Natalia Gomez, she's not on the call today, but Natalia's our director of admissions. She's been with us since 2018, originally from Argentina, but Natalia's lived all over the world, including New York City, Mexico City, and yeah, she's worked in a couple of positions. So Natalia's actually worked her way up in our organization and knows the in-country operations very, very well. That's where we pretty much end up, Tom. I hope I didn't take up too much time with that.
No, that was very informative. So now we turn this over to all of you. If you have any questions, now's your chance to ask.
Thank you for that presentation, and particularly well, not particularly, but the last piece when you said you were you would work with engaging with students who are planning to study abroad. We're pretty busy this time of year, and it's a good thing with students here at ECSU. And having visited the the San Jose office, I was able to, for the first time, as opposed to the past couple of years, really sell the program in a meaningful way. So that site visit was masterful for me. And so I have exactly, since that 3 weeks, four non-traditional age students. I never quite liked that phrase, but we know what that means. Non-traditional age students who are making plans to study for a couple of 3 weeks because they have families and so they weren't able to spend a lot of time during the summer to study, and they are interested in staying with host families with some trepidation, of course, not knowing what to get into. So what might I be able to expect in terms of scheduling appointments to for someone to meet with them via Zoom, of course, to kind of just share some of the information you shared today, but in my situation to talk more about the homestay option. They would like to do that, they mentioned, but wasn't sure exactly what to expect. And although when I was there, I stayed at a homestay, but I don't think I can give them the background information that's needed. So what are your thoughts on that?
So remember, we have a whole admissions team, right? So Valley's part of a team of around 10, 12 people. We can get anybody onto a Zoom conversation, either as a small group or individually. Tom can also do that. And we're happy to answer any questions. If they don't want to do a Zoom call, they can come right on through the website into our live chat and simply do a chat session with one of our program advisors. But, you know, for example, if you had 3 or 4, you could set something up with us that where we do a kind of a group presentation and answer all kinds of questions. And again, you know, we can show up on site and do a presentation as well. We do have again, Tom could do that, and then with Maximo, we have a director of university relations that can also show up on campus and make a presentation, etc. We've done that with various partners. Just with respect to housing and accommodations, so family stays are probably the most common, but we also offer what we call a student residence, and we have apartments, we have hostels, and we have hotels. The family stay is the best option. It's the simplest option. If it's a non-traditional student, very often they might want, for example, an upgraded room. They want a private room. They want a room with an ensuite bathroom. Those are extra charges, but nothing outrageous. That's pretty simple to do. And we can offer all sorts of options. When you come through a family stay in our programs, meals are included 7 days a week, breakfast and dinner. The student is not obligated to accept those meals, but those meals are available. Lunch is always on their own. And again, that's 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday. Right. If you want, maybe after we come through the questions, I've got some videos queued up I can show you a video about accommodations. I can show you I can take you on a video tour of each institute if any of you have the time or are interested. Tom, you keep me honest on the time. I don't want to go too far over for anybody today. But that's available today or in any subsequent meeting that you folks or your students want to schedule. Andre, does that answer the question you asked?
Oh, absolutely, and more. I was pleased to hear that you had all of the additional options in terms of the single rooms or extended room as well as hotels. So yeah, I should have known though. Hey,
in most family stays, it's 2 people to a room, but a private room is very easy to do. If, for example, a group of students, a triple or a quadruple, they all wanted to be in the same room, we can make sure that happens, right? That's not difficult for us to do. The student residence, let me just touch base on that, because there are family stays and there are the student residence. The student residence is very often just a very large homestay, but it's also, it brings a little more independence. So with a regular homestay, very often the family is going to be trying to immerse the student, include the student maybe in things, whereas in the student residence, even though it may be in a home owned by a local family, there's probably going to be 10, 12, or 20 students in that residence at one time, and it's just going to be a little more independent living. Yeah. Other questions? What else can I answer? I'm happy to get into any sorts of worries or concerns. We like to be very transparent about how we run the programs.
I have a question. Do you partner with any local universities or national universities down there to deliver any courses? And if so, are any of them AACSB accredited?
Yeah, so right now we're not partnered with any local universities. It's not difficult for us to do. Very often we're sharing, we share faculty. Our adjuncts are typically adjuncts or even full-time professors at the national universities or at some of the top private universities. So not difficult, but generally what we've focused on doing is having that partnership with St. Cloud State, so that in fact, when your students are looking for a content course, or they want that transfer credit, where that academic credit becomes very important, either to you or to the student, we can make that happen. So for example, tomorrow, you send a group of students for an intensive Spanish language program. There are some minimum time requirements, clearly, but with a minimum of 3 weeks in a Spanish program, we can actually have every student transcripted with that Spanish course from St. Cloud University, ready to transfer into your university, just as if they had completed the course at St. Cloud State.
Okay. The main reason I asked was for business, because most of our departments are pretty cool about transferring in credit, except our business department is not chill about it at all.
Yeah.
So I specifically asked about that.
Yeah, so look, we're also pretty experienced, Tom and I, in terms of trying to partner. So if we can ever do, again, a visit or even a conversation like this with a stakeholder on your campus that needs more convincing. For example, we on a regular basis, we provide all sorts of proof of our faculty members, their credentials and things like that. We're very used to that. We can provide any sort of syllabi and so on. We're very accustomed, and these are things we do every day. Yeah. Sometimes it's just convincing the powers, right? That in fact are coming into a serious program, and generally we can help there. I know, Dave, sometimes they're real sticklers, and different department heads are going to have their requirements, right? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Other questions? Again, happy to answer anything you're interested in knowing.
I just have a comment. I just wanted to mention that recently a big name provider, I won't mention them, announced that they had created an engagement policy for all of their study abroad programs. But Máximo Nivel, this is already what they do. They've been doing this. They don't need a formal policy, a formalization of this. This is something they already do. And in fact, I'd question other providers. Look, if you're just now deciding to accentuate engagement, it was a little late. But I think with some providers, they have to think separately. Whereas with Máximo Nivel, this is already how they approach everything. This is how they think, is with engagement in mind.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Tom. That also holds true with our organization in terms of diversity and inclusion, right? This goes back from the very, very beginning. And we compared to even the higher education sector, in terms of our representation in the LGBTQ community, in terms of diversity in general, you would find Máximo Nivel to be very ahead of where most organizations are, and that's not new to us, right? We've actually never gone out with a diversity, inclusion, equity statement. There is a small one, but we've been doing this since 2003. It's just part of what we do, right? I'm happy to answer any questions on that front as well, because I know in many cases, even from how you folks might be required to view partners or providers, vendors, we can provide stats on just about any part of our organization that you need to know about.
Any more questions? Yasmin? Sorry to put the spotlight on you. Okay, no, it's all right. Well, if that's it, this conversation won't end. Certainly, we can continue this conversation. As Ken and Vali said, they're always going to be available. I'm certainly available with any questions that you may have. I definitely want to thank all of you for taking time out of your day to join us. I just want to let you know our next Global Thought section will be on October 26th. Kato Rolea will talk to us about AI and international education. So that's going to be interesting. And then the big one is going to be on October 11th at 10 o'clock a.m. We have a Spanish sports lawyer who's going to talk about machismo in Spanish soccer, which has made the news lately. And she has a lot to say about that. So I will send you the links. If you're interested, we'd love to have you join us. If there are no other questions, Ken, thank you so much. Vali, thank you so much.
Can I make one last plug that I forgot to mention, Tom? My apologies. We run typically 1 to 2 familiarization tours, what we call a FAM tour, every year. Tom, I think you're looking at maybe joining us in January. So we're running a FAM tour this January, where people like yourselves will be coming down, and typically on a FAM tour, we would hit 2 of the 3 countries. And that would be led by people like myself, like Vali, like our Chief Operating Officer, Hector, and our Director of University Relations. And there you get your flight tickets down, but we cover everything else. So we'll pick you up at the airport, we'll drop you off at the airport, we get all your housing and meals, we have a nice time. And then we also take you out and we show you these project sites and the housing and the accommodations, etc. So that's a FAM tour, and you can get those dates. We have January dates now, and if you write in, Vali can share those with you.
Okay, great. Thanks. I think everyone would be interested in that. Okay, without further ado, if there are no other questions, again, Ken, Vali, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Yasmin, Andre, and Dave for joining us. And let's hope we can keep this conversation going. Okay?
All right. Thank you very much, Tom.